On a crisp autumn evening in New York City, the urban skyline was beginning to glow with the soft luminescence of streetlights and the distant buzz of honking taxis. Donald Trump, deeply immersed in preparations for a major charity gala at an historic building in Lower Manhattan, was not expecting the night to bring him a moment of personal revelation. The Grand Hall, adorned with vintage American flags, retro posters celebrating decades of American culture, and polished wooden accents, was abuzz with influential guests and civic leaders gathered for the evening's philanthropic event. In that refined atmosphere, the fusion of history and modernity was palpable, and it was here that destiny arranged an encounter that would quietly echo through Donald's later years. As Donald entered the hall, his eyes immediately caught sight of a woman standing near a large window, the amber streetlight filtering through and casting gentle shadows across her thoughtful face. Her silver hair was neatly styled into a classic bun, and her warm smile radiated genuine kindness. There was an unmistakable familiarity in her posture and the soft glint in her eyes that transported Donald back to his earliest days of learning. He recognized her as Miss Elaine Thompson, the very first teacher who had nurtured his curiosity and ambition in a modest public school nestled in one of New York's working-class neighborhoods. In that instant, the strict boundaries between his past and his present seemed to blur, reminding him that the values instilled in him so long ago remained a constant amid life's rapid changes. With measured steps, Donald approached Miss Thompson, feeling a mix of reverence and slight hesitation, as if he were about to disturb a sacred memory. His hand extended in greeting, and for a brief moment, time appeared to slow down. In that silent handshake lay an unspoken bond, a connection woven from decades of formative lessons, childhood hopes, and the quiet encouragement of a dedicated mentor. Miss Thompson inclined her head slightly, returning his greeting with a gentle smile and a soft inquiry about his well-being. Her voice carried the warm cadence of genuine care, and as she spoke, Donald could not help but feel that the very essence of his early education had been distilled into the singular moment of reunion. For several minutes, the two stood side by side, quietly exchanging initial pleasantries that belied the depth of shared history. The lively murmur of conversations and intermittent laughter from other guests in the room provided a subtle backdrop to their intimate encounter. In that moment, Donald's mind wandered back to long ago afternoons spent in a humble classroom, where Miss Thompson taught him not just arithmetic and grammar, but also the indispensable values of integrity, perseverance, and the pursuit of knowledge. The memories were vivid, the creak of old wooden desks, the faint aroma of chalk dust mingling with the sound of children's laughter, and they reminded him of a time when every lesson was a stepping stone toward the man he was becoming. Gradually, their conversation shifted from formal introductions to recollections of those early school days. Donald began to share vivid details about the days when every morning, as he entered the modest school building, he was met by Miss Thompson's encouraging gaze, a look that silently declared, "You have the potential to achieve greatness." He recalled how she had a unique way of reaching every student, even those who were quiet or unsure of themselves, and how she managed to ignite a spark of curiosity in even the most reluctant learner. As he spoke, the room around them faded into the background, leaving him immersed in the nostalgia of a time when learning was infused with warmth, hope, and an enduring belief in the power of one's dreams. Miss Thompson, in turn, reminisced about those early days with a reflective tenderness. She recalled the challenges and triumphs of teaching in a public school during an era when resources were scarce but the spirit of community was abundant. Her voice grew animated as she recounted the simple yet profound moments of connection with her students, moments that, though fleeting, had long-lasting impacts on their lives. In her eyes, Donald was not merely a successful businessman and public figure, but a young boy who had once sat in her classroom with wide, inquisitive eyes and the potential to change the world. The conversation flowed naturally, bridging decades of experience with the timeless essence of mentorship, and for a while, the bustling gala transformed into a quiet space of reflection and shared purpose. In that historic venue, where every polished surface and timeless detail seemed to whisper tales of American heritage, Donald felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude. The encounter with Miss Thompson was a powerful reminder that behind every monumental success lies a foundation built on early lessons and the quiet sacrifices of devoted teachers. As the evening progressed and the formalities of the gala resumed, the two exchanged contact information, promising to keep in touch and continue the dialogue that had so unexpectedly rekindled old memories. Their parting was marked by mutual respect and a shared acknowledgement that the simple, honest teachings of a caring mentor can resonate far beyond the walls of a classroom. As Donald later made his way back to his hotel under the glow of New York's neon lights, the memories of that encounter filled him with a renewed sense of purpose. In the heart of a bustling metropolis, far removed from the modest classrooms of his youth, he was reminded that success is not solely measured in business deals or public accolades, but in the lasting influence of those who guide us when we are most impressionable. That night, the simple act of reconnecting with Miss Thompson transformed into a beacon, a call to honor the past while forging ahead into a future built on the timeless values of education, hard work, and heartfelt mentorship. It was a night that seamlessly blended the echoes of a humble beginning with the promise of future achievements, ensuring that the lessons learned long ago would continue to inspire and guide him on every step of his journey. In the quiet corners of his mind, Donald Trump often found himself revisiting the simple yet transformative days of his early education. The modest public school he attended in a working-class New York neighborhood had been a world apart from the glitz and glamour of his later life. It was a place where every hallway, classroom, and playground echoed with the sounds of youthful ambition and the gentle guidance of dedicated educators. Among those who left an indelible mark on his young life was Miss Elaine Thompson, a teacher whose unwavering belief in every student's potential provided a lifeline to countless children, including a young Donald whose dreams then seemed as vast as the city skyline. Each day at school began with a sense of quiet anticipation. As the sun rose over the brick facades of neighborhood buildings, the schoolyard gradually filled with the excited chatter of children heading toward classes. Donald recalled the early mornings when the sound of the school bell mingled with the distant rumble of city traffic, setting the rhythm for another day of learning and discovery. In that unpretentious environment, every teacher was more than an instructor. They were mentors, role models, and sometimes even the anchors that steadied the turbulent currents of youth. Miss Thompson was no exception. She was a beacon of guidance in a world where resources were limited but determination was in abundance. In the classroom, the atmosphere was both earnest and warm. The walls, adorned with educational posters and hand-drawn maps, seemed to radiate the collective hope of all who passed through them. Miss Thompson's method of teaching went far beyond rote memorization. She instilled in her students an appreciation for the world around them, encouraging critical thinking and the importance of asking questions. Donald vividly remembered the days when she would patiently explain the complexities of history and literature, always relating grand events to the everyday experiences of ordinary people. One particular history lesson on the founding of the nation had a profound impact on him. As she recounted the struggles and triumphs of America's early days, Donald's imagination soared. He saw not just dates and facts, but a living narrative of perseverance and the relentless pursuit of freedom. It was during one such lesson that Miss Thompson noticed Donald's keen interest and invited him to share his thoughts with the class. Though initially shy and reserved, the encouragement he received that day sparked an inner confidence that would later prove invaluable. Standing before his peers, he found his voice and articulated ideas that were thoughtful and surprisingly mature for his age. Miss Thompson's praise, delivered in a sincere yet measured tone, served as an early affirmation of his potential. That moment, small as it might have seemed at the time, was a turning point, one that set him on a path toward becoming a confident speaker and a decisive leader in the years to come. Beyond the formal lessons, school life was punctuated by moments of spontaneous joy and camaraderie. Recess on the cracked concrete of the playground was a time of laughter, imaginative games, and shared dreams of a better future. The playground was not only a space for physical activity, but also a crucible where friendships were forged and personal values were tested. Donald recalled how, during these playful interludes, discussions would arise about what they wanted to become when they grew up, ranging from scientists to entrepreneurs, even to figures of national leadership. These youthful aspirations were nurtured in an environment where every child's voice was heard, thanks largely to Miss Thompson's gentle insistence that every opinion had worth. Miss Thompson was particularly adept at creating a classroom dynamic that balanced discipline with creativity. While the curriculum was rigorous and the expectations high, there was always time for creative expression and open dialogue. She organized debates, storytelling sessions, and even small theatrical performances that allowed students to express their inner thoughts. One memorable event was the annual literary evening, during which students prepared short skits or recitations of their favorite poems. Donald, with his natural inclination for performance, once mustered the courage to recite a passage from a classic American novel. The applause that followed, combined with Miss Thompson's heartfelt congratulation, instilled in him a sense of pride and the realization that even humble beginnings could pave the way for greatness. The lessons imparted in that modest classroom were never confined to textbooks or lectures. Miss Thompson often shared personal anecdotes, emphasizing the importance of honesty, resilience, and kindness. She spoke candidly about the hardships she had faced and how each challenge had served as a lesson in perseverance. Her stories, stripped of any unnecessary embellishment, were grounded in the reality of everyday struggles, a reminder that success was built upon small, consistent efforts rather than grand gestures. For Donald, these lessons were not merely academic. They were life lessons that resonated deeply as he navigated the complexities of adolescence and, eventually, the world of business and public life. As the school year progressed, Donald found that every lesson and every interaction in that unassuming environment contributed to a slowly evolving worldview. The school, with its creaky wooden desks and sunlit corridors, became a crucible where values were formed and character was refined. Every challenge encountered, every word of encouragement from Miss Thompson, and every shared moment with classmates helped him understand that true education was about more than acquiring facts. It was about learning to dream, to persevere, and to embrace the potential inherent in every new day. Looking back, Donald cherished these memories not merely as vestiges of a bygone era, but as the foundational moments that shaped his ambition. The warmth of those school days, imbued with the genuine care of a teacher who believed in the power of education, remained with him long after the final school bell had rung. In that modest public school, amid the everyday hustle and bustle of New York City's working-class neighborhoods, the seeds of leadership and innovation were sown. And it was in the gentle, persistent guidance of Miss Thompson that a young boy learned to see beyond his immediate circumstances, a lesson that would continue to influence his decisions, his relationships, and ultimately, his vision for a future filled with promise. The lessons that Miss Thompson imparted in that small classroom were not merely academic instructions. They were life-altering messages that gradually reshaped Donald Trump's understanding of what it meant to be a leader, an entrepreneur, and a citizen of a nation founded on ideals of hard work and perseverance. In those formative years, every word she spoke, every carefully crafted lesson plan, and every piece of advice seemed to carry a weight that would one day transform his destiny. With a clarity that only hindsight can provide, Donald began to see that the seemingly simple lessons of his youth had grown into a moral framework that would guide him through the challenges of adult life. One of the most memorable lessons came during a history class that explored the struggles and triumphs of America's fight for independence. As Miss Thompson recounted the trials and sacrifices of the nation's founding figures, she emphasized not just the factual chronology of events, but the underlying spirit of resilience and determination that fueled their efforts. Donald was captivated by the notion that even in the face of insurmountable odds, steadfast belief and the willingness to take calculated risks could change the course of history. This lesson, delivered with a blend of passion and measured realism, planted in him the idea that every setback held the potential for a comeback, a notion that would later serve as a cornerstone in his approach to both business and life. In another pivotal class focused on civic responsibility, Miss Thompson challenged her students to consider the impact of individual actions on the community. She illustrated how even the smallest acts of honesty and perseverance could build toward a legacy of trust and mutual respect. Donald distinctly remembered the day when she organized an open forum in the classroom, inviting each student to share a personal story of overcoming adversity. The session was raw and deeply personal, exposing the vulnerabilities and strengths of each child in a way that fostered empathy and mutual support. For Donald, this was the first time he truly understood that leadership was not solely about issuing orders or making grand proclamations. It was about listening, understanding, and taking responsibility for one's actions. The lesson resonated with him profoundly, reminding him that every success was a cumulative result of small, persistent efforts and that no failure was ever final. Discipline and organization were other critical themes that Miss Thompson wove into her teachings. She firmly believed that greatness was built upon a foundation of consistency and attention to detail. In one-on-one sessions, she would review the work of her students, gently pointing out the importance of precision, whether in a handwritten essay or a carefully balanced mathematical equation. Donald recalled a particular incident when she sat with him after class, discussing not only his academic performance but also his need to refine his focus and time management skills. Her feedback, though frank, was delivered with genuine care and an unwavering belief in his potential. That conversation ignited in him a drive to constantly improve, a commitment to excellence that later defined his career in real estate and politics. Communication, as taught by Miss Thompson, was elevated to an art form. She instilled in her students the idea that every conversation was an opportunity to connect, persuade, and inspire. Through group discussions and debate sessions, she demonstrated that listening was just as important as speaking. Donald learned that effective communication required empathy, clarity, and a willingness to consider perspectives other than one's own. This lesson proved indispensable later in life, as he navigated high-stakes negotiations and public debates. The skills he honed in that humble classroom became his secret weapon, enabling him to forge alliances, diffuse conflicts, and ultimately, leave an indelible mark on American public life. Perhaps the most transformative lesson was the encouragement to embrace innovation and think beyond conventional boundaries. Miss Thompson was never one to dismiss creative ideas, however unconventional they might have seemed. She often urged her students to question the status quo and explore alternative solutions to everyday problems. Donald recalls her saying, "There is no limit to what you can achieve if you dare to look at the world differently." These words, simple yet profound, emboldened him to take risks later in his business ventures. They reminded him that failure was not a terminal state, but rather an essential step on the journey to breakthrough achievements. The spirit of innovation, nurtured in those early years, became a driving force behind his bold, sometimes controversial decisions in the boardroom and on the campaign trail. Miss Thompson also stressed the importance of empathy and collaboration, constantly reminding her students that individual success was intricately tied to the well-being of the community. Whether it was through team projects, classroom discussions, or even the occasional playful debate, she taught that every person had a unique contribution to make. Donald learned that a leader's true strength lay in his ability to inspire trust and unity among his peers, a lesson that would later be tested in the competitive arenas of business and politics. Over time, these classroom discussions evolved into a personal credo for him, a silent reminder that behind every decision, every public address, lay the simple truth of shared humanity and mutual support. Reflecting on these early lessons, Donald came to understand that the seemingly ordinary moments of his youth were, in fact, the building blocks of his future. The practical wisdom imparted by Miss Thompson was not confined to the dusty pages of textbooks. It was alive in every decision he made, every negotiation he conducted, and every risk he took in the pursuit of his goals. Her teachings were woven into the very fabric of his character, providing him with a moral compass that guided him through the tumultuous challenges of growing up and stepping into the spotlight. In the quiet solitude of his later years, amidst the clamor of board meetings and political debates, Donald often found himself returning to those cherished memories. The lessons of discipline, resilience, communication, and innovative thinking continued to serve as his guiding light, reminding him that every great accomplishment was built upon a series of small, deliberate actions. It was in that modest classroom, under the watchful eye of a compassionate teacher, that a future leader was quietly forged, one who would later confront adversity with unyielding determination and inspire countless others to follow in his footsteps. In every success and every setback, the voice of Miss Thompson echoed, a testament to the enduring power of education and the timeless value of nurturing a young mind with truth, care, and unbounded optimism. In the fast-paced world of modern America, a realm of gleaming skyscrapers, relentless competition, and rapid technological advances, Donald Trump found that the echoes of his childhood education continued to resonate with remarkable clarity. Despite the dramatic transformation of his life from a modest student in a public school to a celebrated businessman and national figure, the timeless lessons imparted by Miss Elaine Thompson remained an unwavering force in his decision-making. As he navigated boardrooms, political debates, and high-stakes negotiations, he discovered that the foundational principles learned in that humble classroom were as relevant as ever. One brisk morning, as Donald prepared for a critical meeting with a group of influential investors in a sleek, modern conference room in one of Manhattan's tallest buildings, he felt a familiar stirring of memories. The room was filled with polished glass tables, state-of-the-art technology, and a palpable sense of ambition, yet amidst these modern comforts, he recalled the gentle, deliberate way in which Miss Thompson had encouraged him to listen deeply and to consider every viewpoint. In that moment, as he addressed the room with a calm and measured tone, he drew upon the lessons of empathy and active listening that had been nurtured in those early days. The investors, accustomed to the brusque efficiency of corporate negotiations, found themselves captivated by the authenticity of his words, a quality that had been instilled in him long before he ever entered the world of high finance. That same evening, in a quieter setting at his penthouse overlooking the city's glittering skyline, Donald took a moment to reflect on the interplay between past and present. Sitting by a large window that framed the urban panorama, he opened an old leather-bound journal filled with handwritten notes and recollections from his youth. Among these treasured pages were the carefully recorded phrases and insights of Miss Thompson, simple truths about honesty, perseverance, and the value of every human connection. Each note was a reminder that the core values of hard work, respect, and empathy were not relics of a bygone era, but vibrant principles that could guide him even in the most challenging times. In the solitude of that reflective hour, he realized that every decision he made, every innovative strategy he pursued, was subtly influenced by those early lessons, a continuous dialogue between the person he once was and the leader he had become. During a later high-profile business negotiation, Donald encountered a particularly tense moment when a potential partner challenged his ideas with sharp criticism. In the midst of a heated discussion, he paused and recalled Miss Thompson's advice. A true leader listens before he speaks, and he never loses sight of the human element in every transaction. Channeling that wisdom, he shifted his approach from confrontation to understanding, asking thoughtful questions that uncovered the underlying concerns of his counterpart. This act of empathy and strategic listening diffused the tension, turning the impasse into an opportunity for mutual gain. In that critical juncture, the past met the present in a seamless blend of lessons learned and challenges overcome, a moment where the timeless teachings of a humble classroom proved indispensable in the corridors of power. The influence of Miss Thompson's lessons extended well beyond the boardroom. In his personal life, too, Donald found that the virtues of patience, humility, and the willingness to learn from every experience were essential ingredients for success. At social gatherings and charity events, he often recalled the simple yet profound classroom discussions about collaboration and community. Whether speaking with fellow philanthropists or engaging with young aspiring leaders, he always made it a point to share stories from his formative years, a gesture that not only humanized him in the eyes of his audience but also served as a reminder that true leadership is built on the foundations of mutual respect and continuous learning. Moreover, the spirit of innovation and risk-taking that Miss Thompson had encouraged played a pivotal role in shaping his approach to modern challenges. In an era marked by rapid digital transformation and fierce global competition, Donald's willingness to experiment and embrace new ideas was a direct outgrowth of those early lessons. Even when confronted with failures that might have derailed lesser men, he found solace in the belief that every setback was merely a stepping stone toward a greater breakthrough. It was a philosophy that had its roots in a classroom where creativity was not stifled by convention, but rather celebrated as a vital part of growth and progress. The echoes of his past also manifested in his approach to public service and community involvement. Driven by a conviction that every individual's story was interconnected with the broader fabric of society, Donald became an active supporter of educational initiatives and mentorship programs across America. He regularly visited schools and community centers, engaging directly with teachers, students, and local leaders. In these encounters, he reiterated the lessons of his youth, emphasizing that the seeds of leadership, innovation, and civic responsibility are sown early and nurtured through genuine care and opportunity. His speeches and personal interactions were imbued with the sincerity of someone who had once sat in a modest classroom, absorbing life lessons that now informed his every decision. As Donald navigated the complexities of a rapidly changing world, the interplay between his past and present became a constant source of strength and guidance. Whether he was closing a major business deal, strategizing for a political campaign, or simply enjoying a quiet evening of reflection, he carried with him the indelible imprint of Miss Thompson's teachings. In a society that prized progress and innovation, he never lost sight of the fundamental values that had first been instilled in him. Values that, despite the passage of time and the evolution of the world around him, remained as vital and transformative as ever. In this delicate balance between the echoes of the past and the demands of the present, Donald found clarity and purpose. The lessons from that humble classroom continued to shape his identity, reminding him that true success was not measured solely by wealth or power, but by the lasting impact one could have on others. And so, in every boardroom, every public forum, and every quiet moment of introspection, the spirit of those early lessons lived on, guiding him forward and ensuring that, no matter how far he soared, he remained firmly anchored in the values that had defined his beginnings. In the hushed stillness of an evening that marked the close of yet another busy day in Manhattan, Donald Trump found himself alone in his spacious office overlooking the bustling city below. The skyline, illuminated by a sea of twinkling lights, served as a constant reminder of both the challenges and the limitless possibilities that lay ahead. On his desk lay a carefully preserved collection of old photographs, handwritten letters, and faded notes, each a testament to the journey that had taken him from a modest student in a public school to one of the most recognized figures in America. Among these cherished mementos, a small leather-bound notebook held particular significance. It contained the wise words and heartfelt advice of Miss Elaine Thompson, the first teacher who had ever believed in his potential. Sitting in the quiet solitude of his office, Donald allowed his mind to wander back to those formative years, a time when every lesson was imbued with genuine care, and every word spoken by Miss Thompson carried the weight of possibility. Her teachings were not mere academic lessons. They were a blueprint for life that had inspired him to aim high, overcome obstacles, and never lose sight of the importance of giving back. In the soft glow of a vintage desk lamp, as the ambient hum of the city seeped through the window, he reflected on how those early experiences had blossomed into a lifelong commitment to education and mentorship, an enduring tribute to the values that had shaped him. One of the most transformative aspects of Miss Thompson's influence was her unwavering belief in the power of dreams. She had always encouraged her students to set their sights on lofty goals, reassuring them that even the most ambitious aspirations were attainable with hard work and perseverance. Donald recalled how, as a young boy, he had listened with rapt attention as she painted vivid pictures of a future where each child could make a significant impact on the world. Those early visions of possibility had ignited a spark within him, a spark that evolved into an unyielding drive to succeed and ultimately to lead. Now, as he contemplated the future from the vantage point of success, that same spark continued to burn brightly, guiding him as he charted new courses in business, philanthropy, and public service. This enduring inspiration manifested most clearly in his extensive involvement in charitable and educational initiatives. Recognizing that the strength of a nation lies in the empowerment of its youth, Donald dedicated considerable time and resources to support a variety of programs designed to uplift underprivileged communities and foster innovative thinking in the next generation. He frequently traveled to schools and community centers across the country, engaging directly with educators and students, and sharing the personal story of how a single teacher's encouragement had altered the course of his life. In these encounters, his message was always the same: education is not merely a pathway to personal success, but a vital investment in the future of our society. His heartfelt recounting of those early lessons resonated deeply with audiences, inspiring young minds to dream boldly and to approach challenges with a spirit of determination. In boardrooms and at public events, Donald made it a point to reference the enduring influence of Miss Thompson's guidance. He organized conferences that brought together business leaders, educators, and community organizers, all united by a shared commitment to fostering mentorship and innovation. These events were marked not by lofty rhetoric alone, but by practical discussions on how best to integrate the timeless values of hard work, integrity, and compassion into modern strategies for growth and development. Every keynote address, every panel discussion, echoed the simple truth that the seeds of a brighter future are sown through education, mentorship, and a willingness to invest in the potential of every individual. Beyond the realm of business and public policy, the legacy of those early lessons permeated every facet of Donald's personal life. At family gatherings, in conversations with close friends, and even during quiet moments of introspection, he often found himself reflecting on the simple yet profound wisdom imparted by Miss Thompson. Her words had become a personal credo, a reminder that success is not measured solely by personal achievements but by one's ability to inspire, uplift, and support others. In this spirit, he had established several educational foundations aimed at providing scholarships and resources to promising students from disadvantaged backgrounds. Through these initiatives, he hoped to pay forward the kindness and guidance he had received, ensuring that the transformative power of education would continue to light the way for future generations. As he looked out over the city, a city that had once seemed so distant from his humble beginnings, Donald felt a deep sense of responsibility to nurture the legacy of those formative lessons. Every new venture, every decision, was an opportunity to honor the memory of a teacher who had once believed that every child, no matter how unassuming, had the capacity to achieve greatness. With each passing day, as he charted new paths in an ever-changing world, the inspiration derived from that first encounter continued to propel him forward. It was a constant reminder that the future was not predetermined, but was forged through the tireless efforts of individuals committed to making a difference. In the quiet moments before sleep, as the city's lights twinkled like distant stars outside his window, Donald would often trace the pages of his old notebook, each note a tangible reminder of the enduring power of mentorship. In those writings lay not only the wisdom of a cherished teacher, but also the blueprint for a future where every child could dare to dream, every teacher could spark a revolution of ideas, and every community could rise to meet the challenges of tomorrow. It was a legacy built not on the fleeting allure of success but on the lasting impact of compassion, perseverance, and the unwavering belief that the seeds of greatness are planted in the hearts of those who are given the chance to learn, grow, and inspire. Thus, as the night deepened and the city's pulse slowed, Donald Trump felt a renewed commitment to the future, a future where the lessons of the past continued to inspire hearts and drive progress. In his mind, the journey from a small public school classroom to the heights of American leadership was not just a personal triumph, but a testament to the transformative power of education. And with that understanding firmly in place, he resolved to carry forward the torch of inspiration, ensuring that the light of knowledge and mentorship would shine brightly for generations to come.